a long one, and can be associated with an ancient thesis, an ancient war story. The story that comes to mind is the story of King Joshua and the Anakims, who Hashem ordered to be annihilated for disobedience. But a remnant was left in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. Many adversaries were brought to defeat by Hashem, which is the name in Hebrew. Despite what Hashem had commanded, Judea allowed the Anakim to dwell among her. So like the Canaanites and the Jebusites, it conjured up an angel of Hashem to visit Joshua. The angel reiterated that Israel was not to make a league with any nation, and that Hashem had given the power to subdue. This problem doesn't lie solely in culture or racial identity, not even in religion. The problem is within the Arab community and also within the Jewish community. For what we say or do is very important to those around us. The problem of assimilation and occupation is that we must remain close to the tradition. For this war is over 60 years old, most say, but that's not true. This war is centuries old. This war is against a promise, and the biggest, according to the critics, the biggest bluff in history of the world, that the design creator appeared in a cloud and came to a people that were mystified by a cloud. A war against a perpetual covenant that resists false images. The first act, the awarding of the body, places an onus on each of us as free will participants in life, as partakers of life. It puts us in the now and ever managing stipulation to give what we have received endlessly. For we give within the temporal mode we receive the eternal mode, which is the greater of the two. This war is not easily understood, especially if you are not inclined to the spirit of the design architect. A finite perspective describes the greatest source, pure light and eternal, infinite abode, from a C&I perspective, which is just a glimpse of the material, unseen impossibility of unnatural orders and disciplines of existence. For the law of moral principle should proceed and extend further into social life, because religion has failed in many regards due to the establishment of the religious authority based upon associations rather than sharing ancient, applied, and learned knowledge. Be it from Rome, India, China, morality is a step process. It cannot be practiced by oral, repetitive tradition, but by interactive sharing of wisdom. If one is to examine the faithful of Israel, we will find that solidarity to the divine presence, God, honors God, whom is a spirit who is honored in moral decision making. This is a covenant that bonds us and can never be extinguished by man, because it's sustained by God. So we must seek to become acquainted with the divine presence that stood at the mountain. In closing, I will say that the more we seek to become inclined to positive emotions and notions, then we must keep our positive verbal communication in motion. But this takes devotion. If you seek to become like unto a light through expression and respect, then when you speak, you will always be correct. Because then your words will never disrespect, but only reflect, and then in turn positively affect any set. Negativity can be like rainfall. If not protected, you get rained on. But if knowledge you install, no matter how high, wide, or tall, you can fly past it all. I'm a former international basketball player, so I use a lot of things that I learned from the sport and from the game, and I try to apply it in the physical world outside of the court and the game. So I've come up with this philosophy of shooting basketballs. It's like speaking in many ways, and sometimes the only way to perfect something is usually through repetitive trial and error, which is the lessons of life we sometimes have to endure. Because during this process, perfection takes its course. In the process of perfection, error is immediately identified, but can only continue to exist if the basic fundamentals are not applied. And that's knowledge and respect. It's application and administration by each participant in life. So it's important that we always respond to negativity with light, which is reverse psychology. For light refuses division. So as a leader, positions must require you to attack negativity with a positive incision, and then takes us back to giving and sometimes lending respect. Respect is also recognition. For all negative conditions represent repetition. So by choosing to be a leader, we must become prevention. Being an effective human being requires one to become blindless to negativity. And then you access what you already possess, and that's true success. Life is a short haul, then we fall. Our bodies in the grave are installed. But the only way to avoid this downfall is to install knowledge, a never-ending waterfall that's free to all. See the invisible, learn to feel out things that are fake. The only reality is the academy in the depth that your mind can create. Remember, the light always compensates. But this academy must be guarded by defense and common sense. Scene or imagery contains what chemists and physicists call density, mass per unit volume, the mass per unit volume of any substance. In order for any object in our 3D world to become visible, it must be rarefied in the air and sunlight. Definition: a decreased quantity of gas in a fixed volume that makes it less dense. Take, for instance, if we stand in the mirror, we see the images of ourselves, the same as our eyes, ears, and soul. Whatever stands in front of them appears in them. The youth that stand in front of the world, the human beings, and all the participants, the world projects them an image. And that image is iffy. All things that appear in the world are images assigned to words they represent most of the time. Knowing and comprehending these images and interpreting these images are classrooms within themselves and are very important. So mentors, coaches, participants of life, your input and insight into projective images and what they represent are important. Shalom.